Yeah. Yeah.
Valentine's Day gifts. And I got my ice on me, you heard me?
And you lose, because you never really tried. You know what I'm saying? Y'all all put effort on.
I don't want him to leave Sunday.
Huh?
I don't want him to leave, y'all. Look what he doing. He doing everything. He fixing everything.
Man, what?
Lord have mercy, man. I want a boosie bed. Come on the film, man. You know me. Everybody know me.
Take my slippers off me.
Freeway and Mercury.
They were dropped off in this location back behind me in a car, and it looks like they were actually hunting for their victim, who obviously they know.
Well, at this point, police say they found more than 25 shell cases.
Still no arrest after a weekend shooting in New Iberia.
Shooting on Buckeye Street. We begin with breaking news from overnight. Opelousas police are searching for those involved in a late night shooting.
Hi, I'm Tina. That's my name. It's Kendrick Flugents Jr. I'm from Rain, Louisiana.
So, Miss Tina, how did you feel when you gave birth to him?
Oh, I was nervous, anxious. I cried a lot.
How was he as a child?
Good. He was a good child. He liked to play with chickens and his friends, his family. He always followed his daddy everywhere he went. He enjoyed people, helping people, being around people.
Can you share a memory of something that he did when he was young that you'll never forget?
Oh Lord Jesus, it's too many.
Pick one that was good.
It's too many. Okay. Whenever he graduated, he wanted me to buy him a diesel truck. And I was like, KJ, I can't afford a diesel truck. He said, well, Mama, you get your income tax, so you can buy me a diesel truck. And I was like, why should I buy you a diesel truck? He said, because I made A's on the road, and I deserve that. That's going to be my golden birthday, and I deserve a diesel truck. So his best friend said, well, she could go get your little truck, action figure truck, and give it to you in a box.
Good. What was his favorite food?
His favorite food was red beans and fried pork chops.
Did you enjoy cooking that for him?
Yes.
So, is there anything else that you want me to know about him personally?
He was a loving, caring person, hardworking. He traveled the country, seen places I never seen. He was a loving father for the time that he did have with his son. He was always, with his chickens. Everything was chicken fight. He loved to play with those chickens. I don't know why, but he did. And that's just a habit he kept from baby till he was an adult. And he was, one of a kind.
He was your baby.
He was my baby.
How old was he when he passed?
He was 22.
Hey, where were you when you got the news?
I was at work. I got a call from his daddy telling me that Tina, they shot him. And I said, what, Kendrick? He said, they shot him, they shot him, they shot our baby. I said, Kendrick, stop clowning, you know. It's nothing to clown about. And he was like, I'm not clowning. They shot him, Tina, they shot him. And at the time, I was on the phone with his baby mama, and she lived in Texas. And I told her, I said, Brittany, you gotta come right now. And she was like, what happened? And I said, they shot my baby. And she was like, I'm on my way, Miss Tina, you know.
Okay. That was a moment. That was a phone call that you don't want to ever get.
Never ever want to get, and you know, wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Yeah, exactly. How did it make you feel during the funeral process, planning the funeral for your child?
I was numb. I was, you know, angry, confused, frustrated. You know, I had so many emotions. I didn't know, you know, what to feel, what to think. I couldn't eat, you know, couldn't sleep. Only thing kept playing back was whenever we was at Lafayette General and the doctor came in and he said he didn't make it. And I turned and I said, who didn't make it? And he said, Kendrick Flugents. I said, who? He said, Kendrick Flugents. And all I remember, I started screaming and hollering. And I fell to the floor. And I was just throwing stuff all over. And then I remember crawling on the floor, begging the doctor, please go save my child. Go save my child. He said, ma'am, I can't. He said he had too many bullet holes, you know. He said we couldn't stop the bleeding. And it felt like a dream, a nightmare. Because whenever I got to the hospital, it looked like Mardi Gras. Everybody was there, like people I didn't even know was there. And, you know, I'm walking in the hospital. The lobby was full. I mean, you could swear it was Mardi Gras. People I didn't even know and then made it to the hospital, you know, before me. The only thing I didn't care for was that the news people knew about my son passing before me. And, you know, that was something then I was told that his father had told him because they had his daddy at the police station questioning him because he was there when his son was murdered.
Okay. Okay. Throughout this process, since this has happened, because I know it's been some years. How many years exactly?
It's been 6 years.
Okay. Have you ever felt abandoned?
Yes.
Explain that to me.
Yes, I isolated myself from the world. I didn't trust people. You know, I would go to work, go to the store, go home. I didn't socialize. I didn't, you know, I couldn't trust, you know. And my worst feeling was, you know, like meeting the person who changed my life forever. You know, that was my worst feeling. And I prayed about it, you know. I asked God to, you know, heal my heart, because if it wouldn't have been for God healing my heart, I wouldn't have never made it, you know. By God healing my heart, it allowed me to forgive the person who took my child life away, you know. And it was hard, it wasn't easy. And people ask me, be like, you know, how you good with that now? And I'm like, I'm at peace. And I know my child at peace, you know. You don't have to worry about nothing. You don't have to, you know, worry about the daily, you know, things that we dealing with currently in this world, you know. And God allowed me to know that he was my child before, you know. he was yours. So at at that point in time, I realized a little bit I was kind of being selfish, you know, because when I thought about it, I was like, you're right. We all God's children. So it's a blessing. And I have memories, you know, memories. And that's what keep me going, memories. And my grandbaby.
Tell me about your grandbaby. You don't have to say his name.
My
Just tell me about him.
grandbaby, Lord Jesus, he's just like his daddy. He looked like him, he talked like him, he act like him. He's loving, caring, you know. This is my grandbaby. This is my grandbaby.
That was him next to his dad.
Yes, this was a picture of my son when my grandbaby was born. This was a picture when my grandbaby was, I want to say 5. Yeah, he was 5 years old. And, he asked questions about his daddy. And we tell him, your daddy is an angel. He's in heaven now, you know. And he was like, my daddy an angel, you know. And the only hard part is like whenever they do grandparents' day, you know, at school or
An event with the dads.
event with the
donuts
dads,
with dads or
and
something.
he
Yeah.
the only one there without his father, you know.
Yeah.
So it's hard, you know, it's hard because you have to adjust to something that you never thought you would have to live with,
Yeah.
you know.
What do you want people to know? How do you want people to know how gun violence has affected your life in a whole?
I don't care for guns at all. Like, I don't care for guns. I don't even watch the news no more. I haven't watched the news since my son was murdered. The last time I watched the news was me seeing his picture across the street, and that was in 2019. That's the last thought I have, you know, like in my head, you know, seeing my son on the news. And it's something I wasn't prepared for, and didn't want, you know, like, our children are supposed to bury us. We're not supposed to bury our children, you know. And it's unbelievable, you know. It's unbelievable. Like, who would have ever thought, you know, my son would have lost his life just for trying to move in his apartment, you know? Like, is that a reason to kill somebody?
There's no reason to kill anyone. Have you ever tried therapy? Do you go to therapy?
I done therapy. For 2 years? And it helped me a whole lot. I started doing Uber and Lyft. And it helped me being able to socialize with people again, you know. But now, you know, I still isolate myself from the world. I go around family and people I know. You know, if I don't know you, I'm not going around you. You know, because you just never know. You just never know. You could be in the wrong place at the wrong time, you know. A bullet don't have no name. You just never know, and it's sad.
I'm gonna ask you one last question. I want you to tell the world something about your baby so that they can remember him.
My son was funny, silly, a comedian. He loved his chickens. He loved driving his diesel truck that I was never able to give him, but his job did. He drove trucks for a short period of time before his life was taken away, but he enjoyed it. You know, he would call me and be like, "Mom, I'm in the mountains. I'm in the mountains. You know, it's snowing. I see snow." You know, we from Louisiana. We don't get that. We don't get snow. We don't see mountains. but he was able to experience that before his passing. So, that was a good thing. My son seen places I never seen, I dreamed to see, but in his short period of life, he was able, to see the world. So that's a good thing, and I know if he would have known that day that, that would have been his last day, he would have, probably done more. You know what I'm saying? I believe because he was, smart, and he was smart. He was very smart and wise. So just, I don't know, some situations you just can't turn away from, and it's sad to say because who would have ever thought, that would happen that day. And the crazy part about it, maybe like a month, 2-3 months prior, my son would always tell me, Mama, I feel like somebody go kill me. And I'd be like, and he would say, Mama, I'm telling you, I feel like somebody go kill me. And I'm like, KJ, you need to pray about that. I don't want you to think about it.
So you call him KJ? I'm not interrupting you.
Yeah,
I heard you say KJ.
Yeah,
Okay.
I call him KJ. That was his nickname, KJ. KJ Kenny Kane. That was his nickname. And I was like, pray about that because that's probably the devil playing with your mind, And it's like he felt his death, and it's crazy because it makes you wonder, like, everybody when they're about to pass, when they feel themselves dying or about to die or somebody go kill them, take their life away. And it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable,
My name is Marnika, and this is my husband, Keon, who was killed in 2021. How did y'all first meet? I was working in the mall, and I was going to the food court to get something to drink, and I had on a walkie-talkie from the store that I was working in, and he stopped me and he said, can I have that walkie-talkie? And I was like, if you want to go back to work, you can have the walkie-talkie, and we met from there. Okay. How long did it take for y'all to fall in love? When we went on our first date, from there we stayed together since then. We would always be together every day, all day, and it just took off from there. How did he ask you to marry him? We were at home. I had just had my first son, our first son, and we were at home, and he proposed at home. How did it make you feel? I was happy. We had been together for a while, so, I was super excited to get married and continue building our family and everything that we had planned. What was something that he did that annoyed you in a good way? Talking. He talked all the time. He never would shut up. He'd talk all day, all night, wake you up out your sleep talking. And what was something that he enjoyed doing? What was his favorite? What was like his hobby? The chicken fights. He loved to go to the chicken fights, raise chickens. He really was like a family man. He liked to stay home and clown, joke, and stuff like that, spend time with the kids. How many children do y'all have? We have 2 little boys. They are now 6 and 9. At the time, they were 2 and 5. Okay, so where were you when you found out about this? I was on my way getting my first son from school, our oldest son. I was on my way getting him from school, and he called me, and we talked on the phone for a little while, and then like 15 minutes after we hung up from talking on the phone, I was walking into Walmart, and he was in a rental car, and the rental company, they called, and they were telling me that the police were trying to identify the rental car. but they didn't tell me, you know, what was going on yet. So I walked in Walmart, but I just felt like something wasn't right. So I took the kids and I got back in the car and we were leaving Walmart. The rental company called me again, and then they told me they were investigating a homicide. And I was like, "Keon killed somebody?" And she was like, "No, they killed him." And I just remember I was driving and the kids were in the back seat, and I just started crying.
Take your time. It's okay. It's okay.
So yeah, I was driving when I found out he was murdered.
It's okay. How did you feel going through this as a young mom and now a widow, planning the funeral? How did you feel?
For the first, the first few days, I was really numb because I knew I had to, I knew I had to keep it together to set up his funeral and get everything done. So for like the first few months, I didn't feel nothing.
You were numb. And how did your children take it?
My 2-year-old, he didn't really understand what was going on. He just knew that, like for the first few days, he would try to FaceTime his daddy, and he wouldn't answer or the call would go through. But my oldest son, whenever we found out in the car and I started crying and people started like calling me, I accidentally said, Keon got killed, and he heard and he started crying. Like it affected him a lot. And just dealing with their grief, it was real confusing, dealing with my grief and trying to deal with theirs at the same time. But they're okay, but they were super young, so they really didn't understand what was really going on.
Did you feel abandoned after?
Oh yeah, I felt like he left me because from day one we were all that we had like together, so I did feel like he left me, but I had to understand it wasn't his fault.
And how did you feel your first anniversary?
The first anniversary, my family actually got together and they were there for me. Like I said, the first year I was really numb to everything. I cried, but it didn't hit me till like after the first anniversary. That's when it really hit me that he was gone and he wasn't coming back. So after the first anniversary, that's when I started to like take it really hard.
So how do you cope?
My kids really, I know I have to move forward and continue on for them. So that's really how I cope.
Do you go to therapy, church?
I do therapy. My sons go to a therapy where you're in a group with parents that also experience a loss, so you're not with people that don't understand what you're going through. So like in a therapy session, it's a bunch of people that experience the same loss as you in some kind of way. So it's really comforting knowing that you're not alone and they understand what you're going through. So yeah, I do take part in that therapy.
What do you want the world to know about your husband?
Keon had an energy that was, he just had like a heart of gold, and he touched everybody that he came in contact with. He used to always say, if something happened to me, don't say poor Keon, y'all better say rich Keon, because nothing about me is poor. And it wasn't in the sense of like money. I think his energy was just real rich, and anybody he came in contact with, he felt his energy, and he touched a lot of people. So I just want everybody to remember him as the funny Keon, the joking Keon, the loving, the caring Keon, and continue on not calling him poor Keon and say rich Keon, because he was definitely rich in spirit.
Awesome. I can say I see your love for him all over your face. When you talk, I still see that you love him, and he will never be forgotten. And you have my prayers. As a young mom and a widow, I understand. So, thank you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Monique. This is my son, Dayton Harmon.
So, how did you feel when you gave birth to him?
Happy, excited.
How big was he?
8 pounds and 1.9 ounce.
Wow. How was he as a child?
Silly at times, shy.
What was like his hobby? What did he like?
When he was younger, he liked to play ball. He liked to play football.
And as he got older?
He was very quiet when he got older.
What was a memory that you remember about him being a child? Something he said silly or something y'all did together?
If I would get upset, he would always be like, man, that woman, yeah.
What was his favorite food? Tell me about him.
Hamburgers, nuggets. He liked a lot of fast food.
Oh, okay. And school, how was he in school?
He liked his school, but as he got older, I guess he didn't like it too much no more.
Where were you when you got the news?
I was at home, and I had a phone call, and I had like, I think 3 other missed calls. And when I seen my phone, I knew something was wrong.
And when you got the news, how did it make you feel? Of course, because
I started throwing up. I was throwing up. Because at first I thought I was hearing, you know. Something wasn't true. Because I miss things so much. And it's like I try to hold it in. And I be feeling like I'm not living. Because I know I'm not living. Because I miss him so much and I just want him to be with me. But I know it's not possible. And I feel like at times sometimes I think I'm grieving, and sometimes I feel like I'm not grieving, so I don't know. Because I feel like I'm just not living.
so it's been an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, it's like I struggle so much. And I've been trying to be so strong. At times I can't. But I thank God for my other 2 children and my grandbabies, because that's what gives me strength, you know, to get up and keep moving. And my husband, it's so hard though, it's just so hard.
It is. It is definitely hard. How has, like you said, has this affected you physically, mentally, spiritually? How has it affected you?
Lord, mentally, mentally especially, because like I struggle with thoughts a lot. But I thank God that I know God, and I believe in prayer, and I like to go to church because it keeps me peaceful. And I don't have so much bad thoughts. Because like, you know, I'm human, but I just want to date, but I can't have them. And at times I'll be okay, and at times I don't be okay. And like right now, it's taking so much for me to talk about it, because I try to be so strong, and it's like I can't talk about a lot of stuff. Sometimes I could talk about it, like with certain people, like Tina, you know. I guess because she experienced it, but in every experience, I don't like to really discuss nothing.
And explain that.
It's like I just don't want to. I hate to sound so rude. I don't want to talk about it. Like if they bring his name up, sometimes I can't take it, and I don't know if it's because I don't know. I just feel certain ways, you know, certain emotions at times. But like if it's somebody I know that experienced it, it gives me a little relief. I don't know.
Because they know what you've been through.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of the giving, I call it the you can't tell me how to have a baby if you never had one syndrome.
Right.
So, you know, I think we feel comfortable talking to someone that has been through it. Planning the funeral.
Oh, I didn't want to have a funeral. I didn't want to be bothered, but one of my friends, Nikki, she was like, well, you're going to have to give a funeral because of the way his situation had happened. There was so many names involved. And it's like, I don't know who I could trust, you know, who I can't trust. So it's just like, I just didn't want to give a funeral at all. And she kept saying, well, it's the right thing to do. You know, and my little mama helped me a lot. But at times I think it affected her too, because her situation changed.
I want you to say, because I know it's hard. I want you to tell the world something that you want them to remember about Dayton.
Dayton was a good person. He was a good child. He was respectable. I just don't know why they did that to him.
And I know, how much do you miss him, baby?
So much. I miss him every day. At times when I still wake up in the morning and I be breathing, I don't know, it's just so much. Sometimes I just be wishing I wasn't here because I don't have him with me. But again, I have Brandon and Brendel, and they, you know, I think about, I want to be here with them. But it's just so hard. I don't know, it's just so hard to explain it. Like,
The pain.
and some people be saying, oh, it get better in time. No, it's not, it's getting harder. I don't believe that it's getting better. Because they be saying like, oh, times heal. No, it don't. Sometimes times make it worse.
Hi, my name is Barbara, and this is my son Brandon, and I am from Carencro, Louisiana.
Hi, Miss Barbara. So, how did you feel when you gave birth to him?
Oh my God, it was one of the best feelings in the world. I just knew my first son name was Brandon. It was gonna be Brandon. Well, the first baby I didn't have a boy, so her name was Brandy. And then the second one wasn't a boy, and my sister had this beautiful name named Brianni. Then of course I had Brandon, and that was one of the best moments of my life.
What was something that he liked to do as a child?
Oh, the main thing, he loved chickens. He raised chickens. So that was one of his favorite things.
What was his favorite food when he was younger?
Fried chicken, red beans, and cornbread.
And you enjoyed making that for him, right?
All the time, yes, yes.
How many siblings does he have?
He has one brother and 5 sisters.
How was he in school?
Very smart, very, very smart. Didn't apply himself as much. He always did just enough to get by and keep him out of trouble, but he was very intelligent.
What was his favorite color?
His favorite color when he was a little bit younger was red, and then he started transitioning to blue. But overall, most of all, red was his color.
Give me a memory that you remember when he was young between you and him.
A memory that I remember so.
One of your favorites.
One of my favorite memories is him explaining to me, and he was young, but he was like maybe about like 20, just thanking me and his dad for fighting to raise him to be the man that he was. That we could have gave up on, we could have been in the streets, but we fought. And I would always say, every time I'm on my knees, when I get up, I gotta get back down to say another prayer for Brandon. And that's why I'm having problems with my right knee now. So that was my favorite moment, just of him just being so grateful and acknowledging that we did our best. We wasn't perfect, but we did our best.
So what was, besides the chickens, when he got older, what was something that he did?
Family time. So family time was so important to him. He loved playing baseball and cooking. Now he didn't cook. Everybody else cooked. He would buy the food, but we had to cook it. And I can remember it was like yesterday, during the week prior to his death, the week of his death, he said, "Mom, I want to give something big in the park Sunday." He said, "I want all your sisters and brothers and their kids and your cousins and invite everybody over Sunday." Well, of course, you know, he was killed on a Saturday, and the Sunday, everybody was at my house. So and there was food everywhere. So in the end, he ended up, you know, still getting us together.
Now, I'm about to ask you a question. Okay. Where were you when you found out?
It was crazy because I had tonsil surgery. I had my tonsils and my adenoids removed. I had my tonsils and my adenoids removed. So it was just crazy because we were sitting down, we had a family gathering, and after the gathering, his dad was up north hunting. So my two daughters that lived at home, they said, "Let's go sleep to Karen's house." So I said, "You know what, yeah, let's go. And I'm gonna leave my car here." So I ended up taking some meds for pain, and I fell asleep. And, you know, I don't know everything about the latest and greatest, but everything my kids get out on. So the phone that lights up, you know, when it would ring. And I asked my daughter to put that on my phone. Well, it was 4 of us in the bed. We were watching movies, and I dozed off and fell asleep. Well, my phone rang, and it lit up. So that's what made my daughter know that the phone was ringing. So when I answered the phone, and they told me that he was shot, I jumped up and I said, I really thank God that I was under the medication, because the initial shot probably would have killed me. So I jumped up and I said, "Y'all, Brandon got shot." So everybody was like, "Well, where are we going?" I said, "Bring me to Lafayette General." Nobody never told me no hospital. I just said, "Bring me to Lafayette General." So when I got into the hospital, I stepped in the door. When I stepped in the door, I turned back and I fell in my brother's arm. I don't know how my brother got there, my baby brother, that fast. I said he died. And everybody just started screaming, and they went to the front desk, and the nurse was like, "She didn't even ask for nobody. Who are y'all here for?" She said she just walked in and just turned back around and started screaming. So I felt the disconnection. I felt it. I knew it. And then, you know, of course, Melissa knows Brian, prayer warrior. And Brian said, "Mama, you know, let's pray." And I said, "We can pray, but he's gone." I felt the emptiness already. And at that moment, my life changed forever.
How was the process of planning your son's funeral?
I didn't plan anything. I didn't plan anything. The only thing that I requested that nobody wore t-shirts. And I requested that because of the fact he was never gonna get married, my request that the guys be in tuxedos and, you know, to represent him well. And I had his siblings do everything. I couldn't. I really couldn't.
Has this caused you any illnesses, physical, spiritually, mentally? Can you run me through those emotions and what has happened?
Oh, definitely. My mental state is just gone. It's not the same. One of the things that I've always been good at is with numbers. So I used to could have add numbers in my head to the thousands. I couldn't do it anymore. Another thing is reading. I would always go speak to different functions for my brother Chris, and one day I was reading with my grandson, and I realized I read at a first grade level. I could not even read anymore. So what I did was I took a hard copy of my Bible and I went into my closet and I started reading it every day. Not realizing it was improving my reading skills, but at the same time, God was putting the word in me that I needed to get by through this pain. And I've been so grateful. I have the most awesome support group. Friends, my family, they never took their foot off the gas. They've been there from day one. I have an awesome pastor. I have psychologists, psychiatrists. I have used every tool to make it this far. Even medication. I gotta take medicine to wake up in the morning, and I have to take medicine to sleep at night. If I don't take a sleep pill, I'm like a deer in headlights all night. Like my mind's just racing. And it's sad because once you get over the depression, the anxiety and the stress is still there, and you think you passed the depression part, but it comes back again. So there's no cycles. Doctors or psychologists can put up stages of grief. They can number it. There's no number. It triggers and it comes from nowhere at any time. My hardest thing is to live with the person that I am now. You would actually think that you see a mom that may have lost one child. Well, they would say to me, Ms. Barbara, you have 6 other kids. And I would say to them, nobody can take that child's place. And I would say to the mom that lost one child, I know the hurt is just as severe, but what hurts also is to look in my kids' eyes and the pain that they feel. And I know they're pushing and praying, and I was with all 6 of them yesterday. My daughter did a cookout in the backyard, and I know they was pressing for me and pushing for me. And that pain, I can't take it away. We as mothers, we want to take that pain from our kids, and I can't take that pain from them. I can't bring their brother back.
Okay. I want you to give me and give the world, what do you want to say about Brandon that you want the world to remember about him?
Perseverance. Just his perseverance, and that's something that he has genetically, not from my side, not from me, from his dad. All of my kids, they persevere. Me, I'm a type of person, if I try something, it don't work, I'm okay with it. But he persevered, whatever he wanted, whether it was a job, whether it was a girl, he wouldn't stop until he got it. And that's one of the traits that I picked up from him. So I try my best to keep pushing and persevering and trying to just make a difference. I'm trying to encourage the next mother, because our kids' lives matter. They had a purpose here. And because it was shortened, that doesn't mean that their purpose wasn't fulfilled. Even in their death, we're still living their purpose. And I think I told you I didn't want to talk, but I would come to be supportive because the season has changed. And I know you've gone through it too, because of Nick's birthday next month.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So it's been rough this week, and I called you and I was selfish and I apologize.
Oh, no.
Because I know you was prepared for
No,
this.
no.
But
you were there for me. And always are. We've been there for each other.
Yes.
And so no, not at all. Don't you ever apologize to me. I love you with all my heart. You know that.
I'm Nicole. I'm from Youngsville, and this is my son, Javian Baptiste.
Okay. Hi, Nicole. How did you feel when you gave birth to him?
He's my firstborn, so I was completely overwhelmed with emotion. I'm a very emotional person already, so to finally get through the pain of carrying him and pushing him out and to hear that cry, it was very overjoying.
How was he as a child?
He was a good kid. He liked sports, big into football. He did like basketball. He was a very giving child, known by a lot of people for him giving. Like, there was this one kid who didn't have nice shoes, and one day I seen my child walk into school with a bag, and I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, such and such didn't have any shoes, and I wanted him to have a nice pair of shoes. So like, and he was like 9, and like, he's just always been like that ever since.
Can you tell me a funny memory between you guys?
He loves to joke on people, so he's always big on like tapping you and like pushing you, and especially if he saw somebody's mood was off, he's like gonna like pick on you and joke on you. And one of the last things I remember was like the same day that he was gone, he was like joking on me like, Mom, give me this, and like he just kept pushing me. I was like, boy, get out of my face. And yeah, he was good. He was big on joking on people.
What was his favorite meal?
His favorite meal was, he loved his grandfather's barbecue. That was like his favorite thing to eat. And he loved pizza. Like, he was big into pizza.
Okay, we'll switch gears a little bit. Where were you when you got the news? Share your story if you want to.
I actually didn't get news. I was home. Javian was always a kid who was in the house. He's a big gamer. So it was Saturday night, 10:30, and I'm like, all of a sudden, like, just the weirdest feeling came over me. Like, I just felt like empty, like in the shower by myself, just empty. I'm like, something's wrong. My daughter was in the house, so I was like, Javian's not here. Javian's always in the house. It's like 10 o'clock at the latest, Javian's home, so I'm like, something's wrong. So I start calling him. It's not ringing, it's going to voice. So I had a Apple, I forgot, what is it? The AirTag in his car. So I looked it up and it showed he was in New Iberia, and I'm like, he never goes to New Iberia. I was like, what is that? So I'm still calling him, he doesn't answer. So I go to New Iberia, like I hop in the car and I head that way. Call my mom, you know, my partner at the time, we headed to New Iberia. Riding around, I go to the police station, and they were no help to me at that time. And I searched for my child for 6 days. Before we found him. But I knew he was going at 10:30 that night. And that's timeline adds up. That's probably about the time it happened, so.
Take a break. How was the process of going through the fact that you had to bury a child? How was the process of you having a funeral? How did that?
He just graduated 2 months before I buried him. So I was able to honor him on that day. So I also wanted to honor him again, like with his, I did everything. Like, some people helped me a little bit, but I needed to control that situation. Because that's the last thing most people would have of him, because some people go for the funeral and that's it. And after the funeral, they can go on with their lives, but I couldn't. So I had to make sure that he was honored on that day. So I did everything. I went into it, and I felt like I had no other choice.
How has this affected you? Has this affected you physically, mentally, spiritually? Has this affected you?
I've always been a laughing person, and I still laugh now. It took me a long time to get back there. But for a long time, I felt like I had no emotion. Like I had no more emotion. Like I didn't know if I was loving people. I didn't know if I could laugh with people. Like I just felt numb. And I even at one point felt like I couldn't even love my other child. Like, and I didn't know if I wasn't or not. And I went to counseling and put her in counseling immediately. And like my counselor kept telling me like, this is normal. Like it's nothing wrong with you, you're not broken. Cause I felt like I was broken. I felt like I couldn't produce love on anybody because my loss was so great.
Wow. So, if you would have to tell the world something about Javion, what would you tell? What would you say?
I would say that he was a child who was just so giving. He would give to the world, even people he didn't necessarily care for. He was too trusting, and that was an issue, and that was the overall problem. But he was a brother, like above anything. Him and my daughter are like best friends, and he was just overall just a compassionate, caring, giving child.
If you would have to tell another mother something about this situation, how are you coping? What would you tell another mother that's freshly going through this?
Honestly, had I not known God before this, it's no way I make it through any of it. I was praying that night. I had people praying on me that night. I was calling the church. Like I had people like groups and communities out praying over me. And had I not been there with God at that moment, honestly, I don't see me making it to today. It's no way that you get through this without God. So my advice to any parent who has to go through this horrible event, go to God and get therapy. It's nothing wrong with people helping you because this is not something anybody can do on their own. It's nothing.
Cheryl, originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, currently living in Lafayette. My son's name is Joseph DeJuan Sheldon Lewis, also known as Snicker, Selfie, and Joe.
So, Miss Cheryl, how did it feel when you gave birth to him?
Considering I was a person who said I was never gonna have children, I talked to God and I said, now or never. And at that time, I was 35 years old, and God has a sense of humor. I found out in January of that year that I was pregnant. It was a lot of mixed emotions because I've raised umpteen children, and now he finally gave me my own. So let's just say it's the best gift I've ever received in my life.
How was he as a child?
Oh my God. If I can say super active, very vibrant, very loving, kind, compassionate, busy, to say the least. Very active.
What is the memory, a funny memory that you have of him when he was young with you?
With me, it's kind of twofold. I was so overprotective of him, I rarely let him go without me. And this particular time, I let him go with his dad and some church friends. They attended a Grambling football game, and he got separated from him. And for some reason, I don't know, he knew he was gonna be in trouble. He knew to go to the stand where people, the announcer stand. And he went to the announcer stand and said, I'm lost. And the announcer asked him what was his name. He said, my name is Donatello, the Power Ranger. So it's blaring across the stadium. We had a little lost boy named Donatello, and nobody's moving. And finally, my husband asked the church brothers, well, where's Joe? Where's Joe? Lo and behold, that was Donatello. So, you know, after that experience, he could never go anywhere without me. That is a humongous stadium, but he was resourceful. He knew what to do. He definitely was reunited with his, how do you say, entourage.
What were some of his hobbies?
He was very crafty. He worked and liked to do things with his hands. It may be weird, but helping you do anything was his hobby. Later in life, he became a gamer, but he took more, I found more fulfillment in doing. He was a master grass cutter, taught by his grandfather. So many summers he made a lot of money by spending the summer working with my dad in his grass cutting business.
What was his favorite food?
Red beans and rice cooked by his grandmother.
This is Louisiana.
And he loved them so much, I had to learn my mom's recipe. And probably about 5 years ago, he finally told me, Mom, you finally got it. I tried. And so I mastered it. And if we would have had red beans and rice every day, it would have been fine with him.
Okay, I'm gonna shift a little bit, okay? Where were you when you got the news?
The actual news, I was sitting at the bedside of one of my church members. She was in the hospital at Lafayette General. I was sitting in a chair next to her bed praying, and a strange phone number came up on my phone. And I was afraid that being near her, it would interfere with the machines. So I got up and went to the corner of the room, and nobody was on the line. And it kind of bothered me, so I hit the number back. No one answered. And then the next call I see is my husband. And I answered the phone and said, is everything okay? He couldn't speak. So a person took the phone and verified who I was and asked me to come to my house immediately. And that's how I found out, once I got to my house. But as a mother, 3 o'clock on the 5th, I knew something was wrong. My gut told me. I stayed sick to the stomach the entire day, and it was getting progressively worse. And that's when I decided at lunchtime that I would go and, I really went to the police station to see if maybe he was arrested and was scared to call me. And after that, I was encouraged to do a missing persons report.
Oh, you okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you kind of explained how I felt at that moment. I understand you feel that disconnect. Planning a funeral, what was your thought process on all of that?
I was absent. I was operating on sheer adrenaline. I was numb. I was completely doing it, but as I would reflect, I don't know how I did it. Like, to go in a casket, to sign papers. I was very intentional and specific about what I wanted to see and what it was gonna be like, but I realized I took flight. I clearly was not present. I believe this God in his divine, infinite wisdom took over and allowed me to fulfilling, that I wouldn't have not one regret after it was over. I wasn't conscious, to be honest.
Has this affected you physically, mentally, spiritually? And if it has, can you explain in what way you feel so far?
It has affected me in every aspect of my life. Emotionally, physically. I mean, emotionally, I'm a wreck. There's 24 hours in a day, 18 of those hours I am just existing. I'm able to put a smile on my face, go on with normal everyday things, but I'm not present. And I say that because my mind floats. It's constantly floating. I have to keep reeling it back in, and it is exhausting. You think after doing that for about 10 hours a day, you're gonna take a shower and lay down and everything's gonna be okay. Unfortunately, my mind races all night long. Scenes and scenarios, and I relive his life over and over and over again. And I'm really trying not to be dependent on the medication I've been prescribed to cope. I've been diagnosed with depression, anxiety, brought on my grief, and I have a stressful job. So those three is explosive.
Have you questioned God in this situation?
I have. I have questioned God. I am a woman who knows God. Have known God all my life. Have had an intimate relationship with Him. He's my Father. And just like I questioned my earthly father, I questioned my spiritual father, because I think all of this brought on some confusion. I thought perhaps I was exempt from this because of the upbringing of my child, because we're rooted in God's word, because we're upstanding, because we're somebody in our community. I thought we were exempt from this. Unfortunately, it showed its ugly face. And the reality of it is, there is no one, not even us. He's a preacher's kid. His mama is a first lady of a church where we're regarded and respected and loved, just like he was. So I really, in my conscious mind, I thought I got a pass. And I said that to my God. I said, God, couldn't you have just let me keep my baby because of all the work I've done? I take care of your people. My husband take care of your people. And I was angry. But over time, things are starting to subside, for the lack of a better word. I'm starting to catch my head, and I have reaffirmed that I can't do this in the flesh realm. I have to do this in the spiritual realm. And therefore, I cannot abandon God at a time like this. I need Him more now than I've ever needed Him in my life.
So if you had to tell the world something about your son that would leave a lasting impression, what would it be?
My son was the greatest gift that God gave to me. Used me as a vehicle to get him here to the world. He has been an asset and not a liability. His friends often text me and tell me, I'm embarrassed to say, I didn't know what kind of kid I had. I know what kind of work I put into him, but I didn't know what kind of kid I had. My kid was loved, he was regarded, he was respected, he was trusted, he was a confidant for his friends. And one of the little boys texted me, what I loved about Selfie so much, he never judged people. My son had it all. He's the only child in the house. We have a blended family. He could have anything he wanted. He wasn't that child. He'd get it from us and give it to his friends. Now that's a funny story. It's reaffirmed by his picture day at Acadiana High, when every class they make the number of the year. They were gonna make the 24 for his graduation, and there was a special shirt that had to be bought. Okay? I purchased the shirt through Johnston's just like everybody else, and one of his friends called me and said, because we live near Acadiana High, could I bring him a white shirt because he didn't have his shirt? And I'm like, unfortunately, I'm at work. Well, let's just say I have looked at that picture 100 times. That little boy's in the picture with the 2024 shirt on, and my son is not. Now, that doesn't make you a believer, nothing. He will give the shirt off his back, literally. This is not something I'm making up. This is something I realized while looking for pictures from school for his obituary. He wasn't in the picture. And God fixed it. That young man is the first person I saw. So I don't have no doubt about it. His love for his fellow brother and sister. And his services remind me that in his life, I shared him with the world. So in his death, I have to do the same. He was loved beyond measure by all that encountered him.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Dugar. I'm originally from Carencro, Louisiana. I reside in Lafayette, Louisiana at the moment. And this is my son, Nicholas Alfred.
How did it feel when you gave birth?
Nick was big. Nick was 9 pounds, 4.5 ounces, 21 inches long. He was 2 weeks overdue. He, as a matter of fact, I had a cold. So I had to wear a mask while I was handling him for the first couple of days of his life. But I was excited. He was my first boy. I had prayed that my first child was a girl, and I wanted my second one to be a boy. And there he came. He was so pretty. He was just so pretty. He was a pretty little boy.
Can you explain how he was as a child?
Nick was very quiet. He wasn't sneaky. He was just quiet. He would eat, sleep, and use the bathroom. He loved music. He would go in his room a lot, and he would pick up the habit of picking up spoons and sticks and beat on stuff. And I didn't know what he was doing. And I remember that time I told my husband, that boy beating on stuff. And he was like, we're gonna get him some drums. And then we did, and so he picked up, playing music, and everything he touched, he succeeded at, because he was a drummer at the age of 8, a good drummer, so.
Can you share your favorite memory of him as a child?
Nick, okay, there was a story. We had did some barbecue hamburgers we had to sell for our church, and he used to eat a lot. Nick would eat everything. We used to call him Mikey. And my husband and I had took a nap, and when we got up, if anyone knows me, I'm very clean now. I'm very fun about things. And I walked into the kitchen, and there was barbecue sauce all over the floor. And so my husband said, who's eating sneaking barbecue? And everybody came in the house, all 4 of them lined up. It was like, who had barbecue? And everybody was like, not me. And here come Nick. Not me, because his voice was still, high pitched. And we said, really, Nick, not you? He's like, And Nick had barbecue sauce on his feet and on his mouth. So we knew immediately that it was him. And we couldn't even whoop him because it was just too funny. So that was one of my memories I'm always remember about Nick.
And how was he in school?
He was smart. Nick was one of those that didn't have to study for anything. He used to aggravate everything. Even as a mom, I'm like, why does this don't have to? Nick didn't have to study. He would just open a book and boom, it was there. His favorite subject was math, believe it or not. which his daughter's favorite subject now is. He was very intelligent. He didn't have to do much. He was smart, he was gifted.
And what were some of his hobbies?
Music, everything music. That's what Nick did. Nick put his all into the keyboard. He put his all into the guitar. He was a musician. That's what he did.
Shifting gears a little bit, where were you when you got the news?
I was in my bed, and his father called me at 7:30 that morning, which was weird. And I answered my phone, and his dad said that, you know, it's a possibility my son had been shot. And I was in denial because not my child, you know. He was raised correctly. He was not that person. Not saying that anyone deserves to be shot, but you know, you automatically think that you're exempt from that because that wasn't Nick. So I was like, no. And he said, well, can you call him? When was the last time you heard from him? I'm like, I talked to him last night, which I talk to my son every night. And my last words to him was, I love you. He said, I love you too. And so I said, I hung up the phone on his dad and I called his phone and he went to voicemail. And I said, he probably sleeping. But then I called again and again. And I said, it's like I had knew something wasn't right because the night before I was cold. From 1 o'clock to 4 in the morning. My body was super cold, like freezer cold. I thought I had COVID. And I remember saying, I must have COVID because I'm freezing. And so later found out that he was shot at 124 and he died at 354. And my body was feeling it. So when I got the call, the first call, that he might have been in it, they didn't know, whatever, I drove to my daughter's house and I told her, and she said, no, that's not Nick. And she called and went to voicemail. And I walked outside and I heard my son's voice tell me, I'm okay, Mama. And not thinking, I know I heard his voice. I was like, okay. And right after that, the phone rang and his dad said, he's calling. I'm like, who? You know? And he said, Nick is gone. And I remember screaming and I remember passing out. And I remember waking up to some, you know, paramedics and the police in the house telling me to take some medication.
How was it planning his funeral?
Because they don't tell you when it's murder, it's different. You have to wait for the medical examiner to examine the body. It's, you know, you can't just go get your child like a regular funeral. You know, you don't just get your baby. You know, there's autopsies that have to be done. And so I had to go to Houston. And, you know, it was like, okay, I gotta go to Houston to go identify my child. And so once I got there, I had to talk to the medical examiner to get them to even transfer his body to Louisiana. So I didn't see him for a week. And then when I did see him on the morgue table, I was petrified at first because I didn't know what I was coming into. Because all I knew was my child was shot. And I didn't know if he was gonna look like Nick. But he did. He looked like he was sleeping. He looked so peaceful. And I thank God because I was petrified. I was like, oh my God, my baby gonna be, you know, how he gonna look? And my daughter and my son-in-law were so helpful with planning the funeral. I think I went into, you know, mode of just doing it, you know, to make sure that it was done. Because that was my last moment that I could do something on the earth for him. So I wanted to make sure I sang in the praise team because we sang worship together, and I knew I could hear him saying, Gov, you don't sing on this praise team. You better not let somebody else sing at my funeral. You better do it. And I did it, but I did it with the grace of God because I wouldn't have done it. I don't remember the graveyard. They said I went. I know I went, but I don't recall. I don't remember the graveyard. So I don't remember a lot. Yeah.
Did you feel abandoned when this happened?
I felt abandoned by people afterwards. Not my son. I felt abandoned by people because I felt like people said that they were gonna be there. And I got more love through strangers than I did people that were actually supposed to be there. And then I started understanding that everybody doesn't have the capacity to deal with grief. So I couldn't get mad at them because they didn't know how to handle it. But I wish I could tell people that it's just a simple, hey, how you doing? You know, call, because it's after the funeral that you need somebody. So I did feel abandoned by people, not by God at all, but and not by my son, but people, yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did this affect you mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically?
Mentally, I was a wreck. I'm still coping. I go to therapy. Physically, I lost weight, gained weight, lost my hair. For the third time, I lost a tooth. Mentally, it's a 1 day you're okay. 1 week, you can be okay. You can have 3 days that's good in that week. And then it could be one song or a smell or, you know, something on television, a food, you know, and it breaks you down and you're done. I mean, like a song can mess up your whole day. A song, just one song. Spiritually, I've gotten closer with God because, like I said, he's been the most consistent thing in my life. And I honestly know that Nick was given to me, you know, from God. I know God had him. So I'm closer to God because when no one was there, that's all I had. When it was just me and everybody left and I had to go cry in their bed, it was me and God. So I'm much closer to God. I like to say I went in the trenches. And the trenches are like when you're in the military, you go down the trenches, the darkest parts, you know? And that's where I went, in the deepest, darkest spots with God. And he met me in the trenches and pulled me out. And still pulling me out. Because sometimes I feel like I go back.
Did you ever question God?
Oh yeah. Without a shadow of a doubt. I didn't question his will. I just was like, I didn't do it disrespectfully, but I'm like, people always say don't question God. I'm like, well, who am I gonna ask? You can't tell me nothing. You're not God. So I asked him, I said, you know, I raised him right. Did I do something? Am I being punished? What happened? Did I do something that caused my child to die? You know? And the response that I got back, there was basically evil in this world. And you have to understand that. And I don't condone what happened, you know, but I did question him. But he was like, I still have you. I got you. I got Nick. But I did ask him. That didn't mean that I didn't believe in him anymore. But I wanted to talk. Because who am I talking to?
What is something that you would love for the people to know and remember about Nick?
His smile. My boy had a smile that was just, he was so silly with it, but it would light up a room because he wouldn't smile for everybody. He thought he was so cute. He was. But he had a smile and his heart. I want the world to know that my son died. He saved a life and surrendered his. He saved a life and surrendered his. That's what the detective said. And so he's a hero. He was always a hero. He was always my protector. He always had my back, you know. And I want the world to never forget his face. That smile would come in the room and just, if you had a bad day and you see that boy smile, you had no choice but to laugh and, you know, just smile back. And even if you see him across the street and you saw him smiling, you knew that's me, you know. I just want the world to know that he was here. He mattered. He still matters.